So you probably know by now that Nintendo did just give us more information when it comes to this paid online service that you're going to have to be paying for when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. I'm not really going to cover that too much because I already made a video about that yesterday explaining that. And by now, if you're a diehard Nintendo fan or even if you're a casual Nintendo fan, you probably already know what they're going to be offering when it comes to this paid online service. But Nintendo has been announcing a lot of things lately alongside the announcement of what we're going to be getting when it comes to this paid online service. Nintendo did just announce that they are going to be killing off the Virtual Console brand. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Virtual Console brand, Virtual Console was a concept Nintendo released way back on the Nintendo Wii, the original Wii back in 2006, and it was pretty much a platform where you buy old school Nintendo games and you get to play them on the current gen hardware at the time. And this Virtual Console type system has been going on since the Wii, and it's been on the Wii, it's been on the 3DS, and it's also been on the Wii U. This will be the first time in about 3 console generations that they're finally killing off the Virtual Console concept. And I wanted to talk about my whole feelings about Nintendo killing off their Virtual Console brand, and this kind of does tie into Nintendo's online paid service. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my feelings about Nintendo killing off the Virtual Console brand and tie-ins to the whole online paid service and things like that. Honestly, right now you may be asking me, how do I feel about Nintendo actually getting rid of the Virtual Console brand when we've had the Virtual Console brand now since 2006? So it's been a very long time since we've had this Virtual Console brand. Honestly, if you were to ask me at this very moment, I am 100% okay if Nintendo kills off the Virtual Console brand. I don't think the Nintendo Switch should go without nothing. I still think there should be something in place of the Virtual Console brand because old school Nintendo games are something they can bank off, and it's good for the consumers, especially for people who haven't played a lot of the backlog of Nintendo's old consoles. And there is a lot to choose from, of course. You know, Nintendo is one of the biggest makers in the gaming industry, and they have more consoles than almost anybody, or they do have more consoles than anybody, so it would only make sense they would want to bank on that, and it would be good for the consumers. More content is always great, and the Nintendo Switch could use something like the Virtual Console. Well, if you did know, when Nintendo announced what features are coming to the online paid service, Nintendo did say we are going to be getting free games with our paid online subscription, so we are going to be getting NES games, and a lot of people have been saying that kind of feels like a Netflix for gaming. We kind of already have the Netflix for gaming because if you know Xbox Games Pass I think came out a couple years ago, and a lot of people like that service. It's basically where you pay $10 a month and you pretty much can play any game you want at any time as long as you're paying the $10 a month for Xbox Games Pass, and that's pretty much like Netflix but for games. And Nintendo's approach kind of feels like that when it comes to their paid online service. It kind of feels like that you're kind of getting a Netflix type service when you're actually paying for their online paid subscription. And I actually kind of like that whole idea of paying money per month to get these games. Will they change these games out? Will there be other games on the service? Will there be like SNES games, N64 games, GameCube games, Game Boy games, and will they keep adding on to this service, or will they change games monthly? Let's say, for instance, if they keep adding games to the service, they may have to remove some of their games. They may change them each and every month so it'll stay fresh. Honestly, I kind of wish Nintendo would actually make this whole a deal where you get to pay $20 a month for their service and you get these free games. I kind of wish that this thing was its own service. I wish they would strip out the games from the online paid service and actually make this its own separate thing, kind of like Xbox Games Pass. That's just me personally, and I think that there is a lot of things they can actually do to this. They can actually open up like maybe like 20 games per system, and then they can keep adding on to it, and I think it's a very good idea. I know a lot of people want the feeling of owning these games even though it's still an emulator or a ROM of the game that you're paying from Nintendo. I know a lot of people just like that feeling of owning it, knowing that if the online service shuts down, you'll still be able to own these games in the long run, because let's say, like for instance, you have an old Wii. Since the Wii's Wii Shop just shut down recently, can you still play your old games that you have downloaded on your Wii? Yes, you can still play your old Virtual Console games on your Wii, so it doesn't matter if Nintendo ever shuts down online or shuts down the shop. As long as you already have those games downloaded to your system, you get those games forever, and you get to keep play those games as long as your Wii is still in good working condition until it breaks. But in this aspect, you don't really get to keep the games. It kind of feels like Nintendo, once they shut down their online and 10, 15 years, which we all know that's going to happen. All these services die no matter what, so you won't get to keep these games. Honestly, it kind of just feels like we're getting a taste of this Netflix style subscription from Nintendo. You're paying $20, yes, it's mostly about the online, but you're getting these free games. I just wish Nintendo would take this a little bit farther. Do I want this type of service, or do I want Netflix, or do I want the Virtual Console type experience more? I definitely want the Netflix type experience more, and let me explain why I want the Netflix type experience more than I want the Virtual Console type experience. Yes, like I said, it's great to own these games, and the satisfaction of owning these games are very great. But the one thing I have a problem with the Virtual Console concept is the fact that most likely when you buy the Virtual Console games, you're only going to buy the games you know, and even if you do a lot of research on different games out there, you may not even know if you're going to end up liking it. So most of the time when you buy Virtual Console games, you only buy good games or games that you know you're going to like. You won't buy any of those random games that you don't know about or that are bad games. Yes, you can emulate games and things like that, and you can kind of get a taste of if these games are worth it or not for you, so you can make your decision on that. But even so, most likely you're still not going to buy the bad stuff or anything like that. But when it comes to a Netflix type subscription from Nintendo, I think it gives us a good chance of playing games that we would normally never buy. Think about it. If you're on Virtual Console, just like I said, you wouldn't buy a lot of these games. They're either bad or they're just games that don't appeal to you. But now when you have this Netflix type experience, if Nintendo's going to go with this whole Netflix type experience for their online paid subscription, I think this is actually a very good idea, because then Nintendo can, then you can actually play games that you would normally never play. So you may see me playing a game that I have no interest in, or I might play a game that's really bad just because, well, it comes with my subscription. I pretty much get a full list of games that I'm paying for, so even if I don't like those games, it's free with my subscription, so I can dabble in those games, and I really don't feel like I'm getting robbed or anything. I don't feel like I'm losing money paying for Virtual Console games that I'm not going to play or I'm not going to like, because I get the good games, I get the bad games, and I get the mediocre games all at once. Now I'm acting like Nintendo's actually going this whole Netflix subscription when it comes to their paid online service, but honestly, they're really not. I don't think so at this point. I think this is just something that goes along with the online service, so I don't want this video to seem like Nintendo is actually going on with this whole Netflix type subscription, but it does kind of feel like in some way this is a Netflix type subscription when it comes to Nintendo, because getting games monthly for free that have online multiplayer kind of does feel like a Netflix type subscription. I just wish Nintendo would strip out that whole aspect and make it a separate service where you're actually paying, like, let's say $10 a month, $15 a month, and having a backlog full of Nintendo games, whether that be recent games or some of the more older games. I think this is a brilliant idea, and honestly, I'm not too mad that Nintendo is killing the Virtual Console brand. Yes, in a sense, it does kind of suck for hardcore Nintendo fans or longtime Nintendo fans, especially a Nintendo fan like me who's been buying every console ever since the GameCube. I bought in every console, whether that be a handheld console or whether that be a dedicated home console from Nintendo. I've bought in every console Nintendo has released since the GameCube. And honestly, that does kind of sadden me inside in some kind of way, just knowing that they're killing off the Virtual Console brand. Now, honestly, when it came to the Virtual Console brand from Nintendo, I really didn't get too deep into the Virtual Console up until around the, I would like to say, the 3DS and the Wii U. Yes, of course, the original Wii had Virtual Console support, but I didn't really buy too many games back then. I really didn't know about the whole Wii shop and things like that. I did dabble my feet in the whole Virtual Console back on Wii, but my memories of that weren't that great. And it also seems like the way that they've been handling Virtual Console as well, especially on the 3DS and Wii, it does not compare to the original Wii. If you remember the original Wii, the Wii actually had the best Virtual Console out of any consoles Nintendo ever produced, with the Virtual Console branding on it. They had consoles that weren't even Nintendo consoles on the Virtual Consoles. You had like Sega, you had other consoles on it. It was just massive. And then when they went to the 3DS and the Wii U, they started really dwindling down what type of consoles could be on the Virtual Console. They mainly strictly focused more on the Nintendo consoles instead of some of the other consoles that weren't Nintendo consoles. So you can see the quality of it kind of went down compared to the Wii. It was still a really great idea, and I still think Nintendo needs to still focus on this whole retro type thing, because they have a really good backlog. It's good for sales. It will generate a lot of money and things like that. And there's people, like I said before, have not played these old retro games. So it would be a good idea for people to dabble their foot into this thing. And honestly, I can see why also they kind of got rid of the Virtual Virtual Console branding, because as you guys know, there's a lot of ways to play these games. A lot of people already played these games to death, let's be honest. And now that they've released the NES Classic and the SNES Classic, we know there's probably more of those classics coming around. Are we getting an N64 Classic? Are we going to be getting a Game Boy Classic, a GameCube Classic? Who really knows? But now that they have those on the market, it kind of seems redundant to actually release this whole Virtual Console thing again when people have already played these games to death. You have to remember, Virtual Console has been on all the consoles since the Wii, so the Wii, 3DS, and Wii U, and if they were to put it on the Switch, it would still be really great, and I'm sure a lot of people would buy it. But then again, we already have, like I said, people already bought those games a dozen times on those other consoles from Nintendo. They also probably bought a lot of those classic systems Nintendo's been releasing, the NES Classic and the SNES Classic, but I still think it should still exist, and I hope Nintendo goes farther than just releasing these games on their paid online service. And if they do go this route, I hope Nintendo adds more to their paid online service. Like I said, I hope we get more games like SNES games, more NES games, and they just keep adding on. I hope really what Nintendo does, I hope Nintendo just doesn't just interchange games every month. I hope they don't remove games and replace games that are new into the service, because that would kind of suck. I just hope it's one single service and they add on to this whole thing to their online service, and that would be absolutely fantastic. Now, those are just some of my thoughts when it comes to the whole getting rid of the Virtual Console on the Nintendo Switch. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.